Hello. I don't know where to start, except with the fact that, sadly, baby boomers have ruled everything in the last 2 decades approximately, and in doing so, they have come up with their profit ideologies. However, once the economy turned to crap, in other words, since the 2008 economic crash, and now since the 2017 economic crash, we are in a state of another recession, which this time think tanks and economists do not want to talk about, based on last time, which was they used terms such as credit crunch and all that. However, times have gone by, and the problem is not baby boomers themselves. However, they instilled this belief system upon Gen X and millennials when we were born or were reaching a turning point around, 7-8 years old, with a state of morality, I guess you could say. According to religions and spirituality, children only attain a form of spirituality based on moral code. In other words, they are able to differentiate between right and wrong from age 7 or 8 onwards, I guess you could say. However, we are in a state where capitalism was unfortunately built upon individuals' tastes, in that individuality helped build capitalism in the 80s and the early 90s, due to the oil money industry for quite a long time. However, due to the scarcity complex in, we had this originally in the 1970s. However, in 2008 we had the world economic recession, and no one talks about this. No one talks about it at all, except baby boomers who were concerned, who maybe instilled such fears amongst their millennial counterparts, in other words, their children and younger people surrounding them. However, since then, how can I put it? Baby boomers have realized that they're in a position of superiority. However, it cannot, due to economic problems, they haven't been able to extend any wealth beyond their own generation. As a result, this has caused problems towards millennials and future generations, in that we are living in a state of scarcity. How can I put this? When it comes to economics, we have gone beyond the norm, in that it's become more of a case of virtual economics, such as Bitcoin and other terms. However, it does not show the genuine value of money. For instance, silver and gold has been deemed to be seen as not relevant anymore. Why that is, I do not know personally. However, it seems like it's all based on what is relevant for the time being, and that would be the oil industry. However, the peak oil ideology was based on an idea by a man called Michael Rupert, if I got it right, in that peak oil would reach first it reached the 1970s, and then it reached 2008 in the next economic crash, and they create an illusion of scarcity based off trying to control the oil money, and by doing so they create the illusion of limited oil. Now the thing is, oil is limited, and that's the value of pretty much the current wealth industries, such as oil, or gold, or silver. Now the thing is, if you try to use silver or gold, it's not going to gain you anywhere anymore, even if you think it does based on old beliefs. But it's really the oil industries. So if you want to know where the latest oil industries or next economic boost will be, it will be based off latest trends, where the money is going, essentially. However, the concept of money is becoming quite illusionary in that money is based off fiat currency, in that there is no value to back it up. Therefore, money is not really worth much of anything, to be honest. And if you research pre-Vice documentary information of a man called Michael Ruppert, you will find that the peak oil industry reached its peak in 2008, or as he said, the peak will reach maybe maximum 2040, because beyond that, money or the concept of anything of worth will be worthless by 2045, because it will be based on solely how can I put this? It will be basically worth based off base levels, which would be things you can exchange, in other words. And if it's not money, it will be based off resources that remain to this day and age. I once watched a documentary about the oceans and sea life, and they said that or fish and other natural resources will be completely irrelevant by 2045, in that there will be nothing left to remain, in that due to fracking and pollution and plastics and global warming, there will be hardly anything left to work upon, because in its natural state certain things are of a certain value. However, that value has been lowered by economic systems, which is or men like fall prey to, which would be the stock system, or the value system of what is worth something compared to what is not worth something. However, that will become irrelevant due to potentially maybe a concept of something called terraforming. As a result, due to the, I don't know if you could label it as New World Order or terraforming, but this will result in the value of what we define as something worth something will be seen as irrelevant as time goes by. So as a result, we will have to rely on our ideas and things we do not mention in society or the media. The media being a powerful output at the current state is creating many problems, and these problems are revealing certain things, such as decades go by, child abuse, or abuse against women or ethnic minorities, and we go through a state where when it comes to politics, where the left side has gained much power, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, they have gained so much of a state where the end result is nihilism. I encourage you highly to research nihilism, in that people are just looking for an end result, and it can never satisfy them because they are living off beliefs based off something called id, which is based off an idea called Freudian or Jungian psychology, involving id, which is the peak points of teenage virility, essentially, and it's the turning point that allows us to make a difference. However, people on the left side, or left wing, or leftists, or liberals, are going through a state where they feel the need to constantly become defensive or justify their sole existence because of the right. Why that is, I'm not entirely sure. However, the right wing are, blissfully ignorant, and they have utterly no idea why these problems are occurring in the left. I cannot speak for everyone, however, I do know for a fact that left-wing people, they have this terrible tendency of speaking for others, and it's not that it's a bad thing, but they speak for others based on very little information, not knowing of their tribalistic cultures, not knowing the rules or the regulations of the individuals they had to live through. As a result, it's creating something called virtue signaling, and virtue signaling results in another key term that is thrown about in right-wing or left-wing communities. But regardless of that, virtue signaling is essentially a major problem in a society, because virtue signaling leads to an obsession of political correctness, and political correctness leads to a form of repression. How do I know this? Well, because I have dealt with a lifetime of being raised on the socialistic hierarchy as well as capitalistic hierarchy. I will not elaborate unless, of course, you want to communicate with me personally. However, we are dealing with a lot of economic problems in that right now we are going through a demographic, not even a demographic, but a hierarchy or think tank or politicians' ideology, where the safest route right now is to remain on the case of conservatism or being right-wing, for the simple reason being is that we are actually running out of resources. Even if we aren't running out of resources, it's the predicted rate of resources we will run out of, which is causing mass panic amongst think tanks. As a result, it is safer and more reliable to deal with traditionalism or a right-wing state than it is to live in this state of abundance, which would be left-wing. And whilst I have no problems with the idea of being left-wing, we are living in a state of right-wing ideology, especially in America, meaning the USA. In that Trump is right now in charge of everything. Now, long before Trump got elected, I noticed one interesting scenario is that there was essentially hope that anybody wanted to pick that role, because not really preferable, would be given an opportunity, and that would be anybody that showed interest in presidential campaigns or a form of election process, which would have involved people on either left or the right. Now the thing is, I knew long before Donald Trump got elected, is that as stupid as it may seem, Arnold Schwarzenegger, considered becoming the self state of California. Now, this I find interesting because people to become the senatorial state must be born as U.S. citizens, whereas Arnold Schwarzenegger immigrated from Austria, although most people assume he is German, because Austria is a culture most people do not know of. Anyway, this results in, Donald Trump being elected during the worst economic times, the peak point of a financial crisis, opportunity crisis. As a result, he is taking the lead where other people cannot be bothered to do so. Now the thing is, I completely understand the mindset of people who do not agree with his personality or his individual tastes. However, because no one is willing to take his place, I'm grateful people like that are willing to play a part for the underdogs, in other words. And as a result, maybe something will come of it. But I do not expect much because, according to generational theories, we are going through something that will be the equivalent to crisis generation. Crisis generation are the equivalent of people who survived World War II, who literally lived in bomb shelters in their youth and did not expect the world to become a better place. As a result, any figure of authority would have reassured them, and I completely understand the concept of Donald Trump as a result. However, this is only happening because it's a case of a form of crisis. We only need extremes as a result to other extremes to continue to go forward, essentially. But once things even out, hopefully, for the left-wingers or people who are socialists, they will get what they want, which is, freedom of speech and expression and individuality. That will occur, hopefully, during the next economic boom. But the concept of economics is based on money, and the thing is, if money if that goes down the drain, then we have nothing left. And if the economy becomes good, thankfully there's enough money to go around for everyone, including leftists, rightists, and everybody's all friends with each other. That, in a sense, to a less extent, happened during the 80s, during the capitalistic boom. However, now we are in a state where we are dealing with something called advanced staged capitalism, which is almost like a form of socialism. It's not socialism, but still capitalism, in that the little resources are left at high stakes. And when it comes to socialism, sadly, I hate to say this, but we are worthless unless you can make your ideologies or concepts marketable. However, now we are dealing with a new state where money will become irrelevant. Probably by 2045, the concept of money will become irrelevant, and we'll be living in a new era where all money will be fiat money. In other words, worthless. It will not matter where you come from or the money you own will be worth. It will be based simply upon your contribution towards this government or future government, and in doing so, that will make a difference. However, I cannot guarantee in the next 50 or 100 years' time which direction society will take place, and ideally, I'd really like society to go in the direction of disclosure in terms of military, technological, and how can I put it? citizens or people from outside of their cultures to tell them that this system is very, very limited and that we are living on very base systems. As a result, I'm really hoping that we advance beyond this system. Like the left and the right, in all honesty, there are two sides of the same coin. In that it doesn't matter if you're liberal or a Democrat or Republican, it really does not matter, because at the end of the day, we are obsessed with the idea of ideology. We want to relate to something that will give us meaning, something that will help us obtain meaning in our own personal lives. But beyond that, it will not gain us anywhere beyond, well, I'll be quite honest, anything, to be honest, because money and finances and stock markets and economies, they really do not matter. It doesn't matter what we do. Even Bitcoin does not matter. Trump being elected doesn't matter. Nothing matters, to be honest. And for the superstitious kinds, we are living in the age of Aquarius, which lasts approximately 2,500. I'm not an expert on this kind of subject. However, all I do know is that it's a time where we are in the age of technology and information. Therefore, we are at a stage where we can play with technology and information without creating any ideology behind it, compared to the baby boomers who had to create an ideology behind it because they are the profit generators. The little bits of information that were leaked to them since the 1960s results in them either becoming, prophets, or results in them in becoming idealists. However, the end result was that they became disillusioned with the economy and their families and the future in their middle ages. As a result, they had nothing to possibly pass on, because we do, as millennials or Gen Y, we do not have the same opportunities like the profit generation or baby boomers or at all to pass on anything. And not only that, when it comes to economics, we are quite scarce. As a result, it's creating major problems because we don't know where to prioritize in terms of economics or our skills, because there's no avenue for us to process things. For instance, it's not as simple as where we can just go to a job and just be taken, because sadly now the requirements for a lot of highly skilled jobs required at least 1, 2 or 3 interviews. The concept of CV, which stands for the Latin curriculum vitae, which is meant to be a summary of ourselves, has been twisted and distorted into a concept where we must be the purple squirrels just to attain employment. We have to become the 1%, the minority report, just to obtain a career, essentially. Because beyond that, if we do not fit the norms of the current society, we are completely blacklisted, and if we're blacklisted, well, we're deemed as useless. And the thing is, if we're deemed as useless, that's no good either, because everybody wants to have a say in society, everybody wants to feel relevant, and the thing is, to feel relevant would be to acquire knowledge, in my personal opinion, on certain concepts, which would be the generational theories. There have been men, or at least a man, who was exiled for coming up with theories prior to think tanks on this idea of history repeats itself, in that every decade or 2 decades or so, history repeats itself, everything repeats itself, and that we are based on our current limits of value or worth, and our current values of limit or worth are sadly, well, since I was born or before I was born, were involving gold and silver, and sadly, I've been to stores where I've tried to make money, just to see, out of curiosity, what that would result in. That silver and gold are worth nothing. It doesn't matter if it's the peak of gold and silver, it's still worth nothing, because the idea of worth is a stock market or economic or think tank's ideology to give us the illusion that what we own is of value. However, that is a trick, in that the royal family and certain people do not believe in such belief systems, because they are the ones who promote the idea of the stock market and what is of value, to trick people into falling into those traps of wasting money on stock markets that garner nothing in the end. At the end of the day, it's like Bitcoin, or it doesn't matter if you're Republican or leftist or right wing. At the end of the day, they're two sides of the same coin, in that I've had much experience. Half my family are right wing, the other half are left wing. It doesn't make any difference to me. I really could not care less, in that they're just doing their job, in that they're doing a job because no one else is doing their goddamn jobs, and they're the ones who are trying their best to make things relevant, because otherwise the rest of the world is currently irrelevant. Because since 2012 we have been living through something called the Age of Aquarius, because for 2,000 maybe 500 years or 2,200 something years we have lived in the Age of Pisces, which is what the biblical people, or people over the era of Pisces, I think, had to live through, and I completely comprehend the ideology. Now we're living through a completely new era in 2012. Even if you do not believe in astrology, in terms of astronomy, we are going through a stage where scientifically we've had to do with odd scientific phenomena which resulted in all the planets of the solar system aligning, and as a result this has created unusual circumstances since then. And for religious people, superstitious people, or New Age people, they had their beliefs set on some kind of happening or something that would happen post 2012. And since they got what they wanted, maybe not to 100% fulfillment. However, for the rest of us, we are now living in something called the Age of Aquarius, which will last 2,000 plus years, and we have to deal with those realities. Even if you do not believe in superstitious or the paranormal, if you are smart enough and you look towards astrology or economics and look at the algorithms or the patterns of such systems, or any system for that matter, you will find that it will give you shocking results, in that it is predictable. You can essentially predict the future vaguely based off material needs, and these material needs will be based off the core materials that are being based off Earth. Now the thing is, we cannot base the future of immaterial needs, if that's a term, but all we can do is base the needs of something more abstract, which will be based off whatever you perceive to be of value. Now if you look at the patterns and you look at the logic behind it, and the people came up with such ideas, you must always look towards the past. You must always look towards the forefathers, the people who created such concepts, including education, economics, your job, your lifestyle, because without that, it is worthless. It's all meaningless. It's just randomly floating around in space. But with the right context, you could essentially master. I'm not going to boast, but essentially the universe, and in that you can get like a better idea of how people act and how the economy will go, or such business ideas will go, based off past events and based off of certain algorithmic patterns. And it doesn't matter if you are spiritual or financially based or not spiritual, you are going to go in a certain direction, which if you have a certain awareness of, you could essentially predict which direction it will go in. You could end up more financially successful, or you could come up with an idea which doesn't yet exist. There's a theory that, for instance, Gen Z, the generation now born in the late 1990s, early 2000s, they will be the ones essentially creating jobs or being in positions, job positions where we cannot possibly begin to imagine, in that they will be hosting jobs based on needs we do not know of yet. And that is one thing to look into in the future. However, we have to stay stable for the next like 10 years or so. I don't know, because beyond that, I cannot really predict anything. My predictions, in all honesty, are based off economic systems, quantum physics, linguistic ideologies, if there is such a thing. Because beyond that, we are left in the abyss of the unknown, and all we can do is create meaning based off what we know, essentially. Because to start from scratch is essentially a waste of time, and would create a lot of problems, especially for the younger generations. The younger generation will be born into something equivalent to a virtual matrix, which will everything will be provided for them. They will be able to express themselves, or they'll be able to find their own niche counterparts to relieve their unresolved issues. However, for millennials, Gen X, or boomers, anybody that remains alive, older people beyond, say, the age of 50s and 60s, they can rest assured that they do not have to look hard, they do not have to find meaning, because their entire lifetime serves that purpose. However, for younger generations, we have to find meaning, because we have lived in a system of scarcity, because before that we were raised to believe in this baby boomer paradigm, or, to be very correct, an economic 1980s or early 1990s, the boom of that anything you do is possible, anything you do will result in great results, and we will become like Richard Branson, or we will become knighted individuals in Great Britain or whatnot. However, it doesn't matter, sadly, since 2012, what we do, the results aren't satisfying, in that we do not get any social gain or financial gain from the things we learned, especially if you went to university or college or whatever, because there is no economic plan in those industries. The economic plan was just more to create future think tanks, or current think tanks, to get inspiration from unpaid university students to come up with theories that would span for the next 10-20 years into 2045 approximately, I guess, in in that it doesn't matter what we contribute, sadly we are worth nothing. And if we are worth nothing, well, there must be something more we can do with that. However, to have more value, according to economists, or according to astrologists, or according to New Agers, or the skeptics, or anybody for the matter, if you want to make a difference, we are going to have to wait until, I don't know, the equivalent of 10, maybe 20 years before things will start to take effect. So, if you're financially successful now, good for you. But if you're at a stage of your youth in that you're just starting your life and you just want to make a difference in history, society, or economically, you're going to have to maybe learn to observe and not take action, because right now we are waiting for baby boomers to reach their peak, which they have done, and more importantly, we are waiting for Gen X to reach their peak, and Gen X, well, that's going to take another 10-20 years for them to reach their fulfillment, because until then, any Gen Y, or in other terms, millennials, for us to have a say, we will have to wait for all these other people to become burnt out, or satisfied, or resolved in their own ideologies. But beyond that, we're on our own entirely, in that the whole system has been destroyed, and it's our job to build the foundation of society. Now, if you're fine with that, that's good for you. You know, if you want to work in a government job and fix the government systems, or keep society going. But beyond that, if you want to make a difference abstractly, or philosophically, or economically, you're gonna have to wait for things to happen in the long term. And when I mean the long term, I need you and other people, for the matter, to remain patient for the next 10 or 20 years. We will only get what would satisfy us, maybe during our midlife crisis equivalent, because before that, this is a case of just building upon where people have given up in terms of economics, or sociology, or astrology, for the matter, for those that believe in it, to continue. But otherwise, we are completely, entirely on our own, because anything that anybody of age 35 or 25 says to you, they don't know any different. Their entire worldview is based off an old system of economics and sociology and traditionalism that keeps them covered. They don't have to worry about that. But if you are young and you want to make a difference, you need to go against the grain. And I'm dead serious on that. If anything that basically pisses off anybody 10, 20 years older than you will be of relevance. But beyond that, I don't know, just like, don't waste your time trying to please others of your same age group. But don't get caught in the trap of being rebellious for the sake of rebelliousness, which is a problem I personally have with. Because being rebellious is easy. Being rebellious and trying to create a whole movement is almost near to impossible. Being able to create a movement and that changes history or the future is barely possible, I'll be honest. However, if you have any hope past the age of 21, and this is pertinent information, because something, how can I put this? Anybody beyond the age of 21 and also 25 to 27 age group, your brain stops developing in that. Beyond that, there is it's very rare to create new brain connections or new neural pathways, because everything is based off habit. We are, creatures of habit, and creatures of habit are like to sustain ourselves by living in a society which is based off the norm, and the norm is based off habits. However, habits do not necessarily get us anywhere, and lack of habits, they might not get us anywhere either. But in the long run, if you are able to fight against the grain, or more importantly, if you're able to observe other people and view things from the outside looking in, you will be able to have a much higher capacity to analyze the future. Because without that, you cannot look into the future. How can you look into the future if you don't have any information from the past? We are not beings, that were grown from a system of a vacuum in space. Some people would say that the Big Bang Theory occurred because it was just caused by an explosion or a vacuum effect, in that there's no outside influence, and we just one day existed as opposed to not existing. However, the more I look into logic and philosophy or any other topics, the more I find that we were not built out of randomness. It's not to endorse the creationists, because I'm not going to please those guys either, because creationism and creationists, I'm not entirely in agreement with them either. However, I'm not in agreement with the idea of science. As much as I obsess and love science, the problem with science is that they do not learn to look into their more intuitive modes, because they are completely, I guess you could say, left-brained, in that what they do not realize is logic is a concept built of something that can be potentially changed or renewed, because logic, I'd have to look back into the past, but logic, the current form of logic, is not necessarily based off what we assume to be logic, in that the ideologies are completely made up, in that logic, as well as illogical as being illogical. I mean, yes, it helps against the other extreme of very illogical people, but it does not help mankind. And the risk we have with the future is we risk becoming people that worship something called scientism. And scientism is a new version of being religious. It's just a new label to an old concept, essentially remarketed. So there's nothing new about that. And as a result, scientism does not surprise me. You have very religious people who are very spiritually advanced, or who have high IQs, who have deviated towards something called scientism. And maybe these individuals helped create the industry for CERN and quantum computing. However, the problem with quantum computing is that we as average individuals have no say upon it, nor does anyone even of relevance have any say upon it. And what I'd like to know is what is the motivation for atheists or people who are agnostic to use quantum computing to essentially open up in their belief system portals to other dimensions or other frequencies, because in doing so they could put themselves at risk. And if they start to notice these patterns, they should therefore look towards they must look towards the past. And religious people, it's not to say that religious people are always right in everything, it's just they are stable constants, and that guarantees them a different opinion. And this different opinion would be that what is the desire to open up another portal? What's the desire to find a God particle? What's the desire to play God, for that matter? Well, I personally don't know, but In some ways, I appreciate people who don't know any better to advance technology and spirituality, even if they are wrong. However, on the other side, I feel bad because people who have been raised with certain belief systems believe that the new way of life is essentially evil, that, what we have is the new world order, or the old world order. But let's face it, look at it logically. Do you think the old world order would provide us everything we want? Do you think the old world order would provide us meaning and a solution to future events? No, not necessarily, at least from my personal perspective. I don't believe in Bilderberg. I don't believe in all these financial, economic, or think tank ideologies, or just trying all the Georgian Guidestones. Oh my God, they're essentially people that lack an immense amount of oxytocin. These people are sociopaths or psychopaths, or even if they're normal, they do not lack enough empathy to understand how it would feel being on the other end of the spectrum, which is being a victim to their ideological beliefs of their power. And people like that have much power. And people who have a lot of power can change the future because they know about the past. However, will they make it a better future? I don't know. In honesty, I feel like we are splitting amongst humankind, and there's a slight possibility, according to BBC News article from several years ago, that humanity will split at some point, and that the scientifically advanced will start to genetically change compared to those that are not scientifically impaired, those who just enjoy life and live day by day, and I guess you could enjoy life. Just live for the moment. They will probably, in 100 years or more so, will be a split in society. Now, I don't know what to say about this. This is personally I find quite interesting, but I can't really take sides because it hasn't happened yet. Even if it has happened, I just see opposing sides, two sides of the same coin. It doesn't matter if it's politics or science or religion, it's all the same to me. And at the end of the day, the problem since 2012 is the astrological belief system that everything can be fulfilled. Again, I'm not an astrological expert, but nor an economical expert. So I'm just relying on the goodwill of people. I genuinely hope that some change will happen, because one thing I've been desperate for is change. Probably change for good. And according to religious people, change would be I don't know, just getting fulfillment based off their beliefs. This might seem like hell for the New World Order elites or cabal, but surely they too must realize that their influence is finite, and even if it's infinite, in the end their personal opinions do not matter, because you will just get sucked up into the grand scheme of things, which is being and now existing, because humans are prey to something called ego or id, in that we have all this excess energy. If it's not spent on sex or sexuality or impressing people, is spent into creative endeavors or trying to better ourselves. However, does it guarantee our survival? Not necessarily. Does it guarantee our improvement as a society? Not necessarily. Does it guarantee our evolution? Not necessarily. I'm not against the idea of art, nor am I against the idea of science, but I'm at the point where I can't take sides, because I've how to live or deal with people who are on either side. I have honestly no idea why I'm even discussing this, but I have had to, based on people that have helped me guide me to the stage I'm at now, learn about so many structures and ideologies that the more I learn, the less I know. In all honesty, if you follow this path too, you will find that knowledge leads you to knowing less and less and less about yourself. But in some ways, this knowledge will help you remember based off things you had gut feelings about. Help you understand a better comprehension of this universe. And for anybody watching this, I completely get you if you think I'm completely batshit insane, and I really don't blame you, but because you have the right to live based on your own belief system. You have the right to live according to simple needs. You do not have to delve into spiritual endeavors, but what you do not look into, your children or your grandchildren or the rest of society will look into. And that if you choose to be ignorant, at some point it will create a backlash effect. Every emotion or spiritual or mental faculty you pick will result in some kind of opposition, whether you know of it or not. And it's nothing to be threatened by. It's just that's just called life. It's just how nature and science and biology works. Opposites attract. So I would not feel personally attacked. But however, if you're personally offended by what I'm attempting to say, you are perfectly correct in that. It's perfectly fine to feel offended, because if I was in your position, I'd feel extremely offended, and I'd feel like crap too. But in feeling like garbage, I've learned a lot of things. And the difference between me and a lot of people is I did not choose to act upon limbic needs. I mean, I've tried, but overall, I've chosen to observe as opposed to react. Because at the end of the day, acting upon what feels good at the time results in a lot of time very terrible results in the long term, regret and things like that. I have utterly no idea if I'm making any cognizant sense at all, considering I grew up speaking more than one language, and this is who I am. I can't change who I am. I'd love to be carefree. I'd love to think on I'd love to be like a child in that I don't want to worry about the future or the past or anything. I just want to live in the now. I don't want to be a human that's full of contradictions, but what else can I say? Because everywhere I go, everyone's full of contradictions. It doesn't matter if you're left wing, right wing, or different nationality or not. We're all the same, we really are. It's just we express it differently. And maybe some of you think, oh, well, that's Captain Obvious. Well, of course I understand that also. It's just, I'm stuck in a situation where I cannot please everyone. But I really do hope that I can get to some people that are relevant in this case. In the end, everyone is relevant, but it's a case of timing as well. Maybe right now is not the time to disclose any information. Maybe right now it's a bad idea to start a business or make money or make predictions on anything, because look at the world is going. Now, most of you, I will say this, however, to get back to reality, is that in 2008, people, even if you were not old enough to understand, or if you were old enough, people would passively talk about people would talk about something called a credit crunch. Why did they talk about that? They talk about it based off the news in the United Kingdom. And why is that? Because the news told them, goddammit. And but beyond that, people never really looked into why the economy crashed. I don't care if the economy crashes or it's successful, because, you know, part of me is thinking, well, why does it even freaking matter? Why does it matter? Well, it matters in that if you try and present your ideas or your business ideas at the wrong time, they will be stolen, ignored, or twisted during the wrong times. It's just common sense, all about timing. Life is just like a giant conveyor belt, essentially, and if you try and place your ideas when the position is taken care of, you're just wasting your time. You don't know any better. Like, most people don't know any better. I have researched so much on so many different structures and systems. It's frankly quite nauseating. And I hope to anyone that sees me, I hope they realize that the human brain is beyond genders. In that the only thing that influences gender, apart from the genitals and blah blah, is the hormones that leak into certain parts of the brain. That is all. The brain is just a pile of fat, for God's sake. And in doing so, depending on how you're born and the hormonal influences, you end up male or female. And I could not give a damn if you're male or female. It's just like both are relevant. And all I'm seeing at the moment is extremes. I'm seeing MGTOW and feminism. I'm not seeing any middle ground. I am desperately looking for the middle ground. And it might seem like I'm apathetic or weak, but in all honesty, I've lived on both sides. How can I explain this better to you? I have no idea. I've had to live. I am genetically built to live on one extreme to the next, in that I know what right wing is, I know what left wing is, I know about politics, I know about assassinations, I know about everything. It's just nauseating that I cannot contribute or help such an individual. It's awful. And even worse, and this is where my biasness comes in, is I wish people could help me. Because if people would help me, I damn well would make sure I'd help them. Because I have nothing to gain by stealing from people, in that anybody that comes into my life knows me. They are like family to me. They are my family more than maybe in some cases family, because family, well, it's just people who you are the genetic lineage of. It doesn't mean you have to be tied to these people. In all honesty, I don't believe we are based off our genetic backgrounds or race and all that. In some ways, yes, I do, but in other ways, I don't. It doesn't matter in the end, because I mean, you're more than welcome to learn to both backgrounds of left wing or right wing, or creationism, or the idea of scientism. You're more than welcome to play with those ideologies, but ultimately, the path to enlightenment is the middle way. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. Extremes have never got anyone anywhere. It's only been, extremes are only a reaction to an extreme, as in things we're going through that might seem extreme to you are a reactionary response to extremism, in a sense. It's a term that not many people talk about. So that's all I have to say in the end, for the time being. I really wish I could make a difference. I have no idea how to make a difference. I know the social structures, psychological structures, the scientific structures, but I would very much like for the tides, or just intuition to guide me somewhere, and right now nothing is guiding me anywhere. It's extremely frustrating. Maybe this is the age of Aquarius, but in all honesty, I'm a bit of a skeptical person. Oh, and one last point, for the flat earthers, I'm open to ideas, as much as I'm open to the idea of people believing the earth is round, in that we cannot prove nor disprove certain things. I just refuse to take sides, and as a result, this angers people immensely. And I've had this all my life, in that, I don't know where this quote came from, but a sign of intelligence is being able to hold two opposing belief systems or opinions without going insane. And right now I'm in a position where it's like one part of my brain is like, this is bullshit, another part of my brain is like, I completely agree with you. And for the outside people, maybe they're thinking, wow, you're full of shit. Well, maybe I'm full of shit, but the difference is, at least I know for a fact I've done extensive research on many different subjects. I'm still open to different subjects and concepts and ideas, not just based on education, not just based on science, but also based off the individual. Because do you honestly think that the first person who was the first doctor had a degree in being a doctor? Do you think the first heart surgeon had a degree in being a heart surgeon? Do you think the first artist had to have a degree in being an artist? Do you think the first how can I put this, do you think the first film director had to get a degree or masters in film direction? No, absolutely not at all. Intelligence is almost entirely subjective, in that there are multiple forms of intelligence, and sometimes certain forms of intelligence to the mainstream appear stupider than most, but the reality is they may be smarter than the common mainstream system, in that, for instance, the IQ system. It's like the IQ system was made for supposedly right-handed middle-class males who are of Caucasian background, who had, on top of it, a very good education. But at the end of the day, there are studies disproving that theory. I'm not against your criticism at all if you believe those modes or systems. However, it's just like, I just like to weigh two opposing systems before taking sides. I don't say take sides. I just cannot take sides. I never will, and biologically and mentally will never be able to take sides. The only side I can take of is a synthesis of a thesis, which is based off some, for instance, a problem, reaction, solution dilemma. I'm not going to go that far into that subject, but those of you that are interested in such concepts, you can research David Icke and problem, reaction, solution, dilemmas. It cannot please everyone, but I really do wish I could speak for, maybe not everyone, but I just feel compelled to speak towards everyone, because I have nothing to lose. It's just like, I don't care if I'm male or female. It's like, I'm just putting on appearance to look socially acceptable, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If I was born male, I'd still be doing the same things. I really feel like something must be done about this stagnation that is currently ongoing. And anybody who sees this or comes up with their own theories, I'd be more than grateful or happy if you, for the love of God, could just essentially inspire me or yourselves. I'd be eternally grateful. And I hope this pretty much covers everything I've said. If there's anything that you'd like me to elaborate on, then please do so, because this stream of thoughts, of flow of consciousness, I was skeptic. Yeah, of course I'm full of shit. But I really don't care much for ego, because I could be dead tomorrow, or next 2 decades, or 3 or 4. What difference does it make? I want to make a difference, and I want you to help participate in that. Because there's so little YouTubers, there's so little people who, since 2012, have actually made a difference. Not to say that the information people I've seen is irrelevant, it's just it's not on point. Nothing is focusing on anything. We're just all basing everything on id and what we feel like we should do. We're not basing anything for the matter, on what we should do. I understand if you don't have that basis for that system. I really do. But if you have any qualms or questions or anything you'd like to discuss, then please, for the love of God, please elaborate, because I'm at a loss here. I do not know if anything I'm saying makes any sense at all. I hope what I'm saying can be interpreted on multiple levels, because if it isn't, then I've just wasted my time. I've waited my entire lifetime to say something of relevance, and I don't expect you to take me seriously, because look at me, I'm wearing a rabbit hat and Pokemon t-shirts. This is what I grew up with. I'm not doing this to be a social justice warrior. Oh, God forbid. I do not like labels, and even if I'm into that box, I could not possibly give more of a damn, to be honest. I just want to make a difference. I want to help people. I want the system to change. I want the economy to change. I'm sick of it. If the next step is injecting chips into arms, and I have no freaking idea. It's just like, we have a choice. Humans have a choice. We have consciousness. We are sentient. Therefore, we have a choice to pick what direction in life we should do so. And I'm desperate to see people going. I'd like to see people go against the grain. I like to see people do something different. I'm sick and tired of people following what is on social media or TV or the internet just because of the instant gratification it gives you, because in the long run it will mean nothing. In 10 years time it will mean nothing. Ask yourselves this: is anything you do, will it be relevant in 5, 10 or 20 or 15 years time, or whatever, or just like 50 years time? If the answer is no, then maybe you should reconsider your ideology and start researching, because that is all we have as sentient human beings. We are not freaking goddamn animals. We are not animals, and if we're not animals, therefore we should research and learn as much as possible. And I'm at the stage where I'm still learning. I have honestly no idea. And for those of you who are thinking that, oh, this woman has been inspired by men and all that, yeah, maybe it's true. However, at the end of the day, it's just like, I could not give less of a damn about gender. Like, if I was born a man, I'd still be saying the same things. As a woman, I'd still be saying the same things. I speak beyond your ideological beliefs. I speak on levels that I'm praying you relate to on an abstract level, because everyone matters. They really do. So I do not want to give up on humanity, because if I have to give up on the humanity, then what the heck am I doing here? It's like, I did not ask to be born. I did not ask to be in this position. It's just, I want to make a difference, I guess you could say. And if you have my back, I will have your back. It's just like, what you see is what you get, in all honesty. It's like, and if you interpret me as threatening or offensive, well, go ahead. Just do it. Just, I don't know, be offended. Or work upon that feeling of offensiveness. Like, ask yourselves, why do I feel offended? Why does this person anger me? Well, I ask myself all the time that I've been many times offended by people. Oh, things have happened to me. I've been depressed. I've gone through stages where most people would have become psychopaths at this point. I'm beyond the point of I guess you could say change in a good way as opposed to a bad way. If it was a bad way, then I'd be screwed. But I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Essentially, I want to make a difference. If I can make it big in society, and make a difference financially, I will do so. And anybody that contacts me and gives me a good reason or a valid reason to show that they are part of this belief system or want to change or make a difference in their lives, then I will greatly help them. It's just I cannot make a difference in the vacuum of space. I cannot do anything if I have no influence or inspiration. Unlike most people, to some people I've experienced a lot more than most. How, moving around, living in different countries, I've done so much. However, it's sometimes the one extreme leads to feeling like the opposite extreme, where you feel like the more you learn, the more stupid you feel. The more you travel, the less you feel traveled. The more you know stuff, the less you know stuff. And that's the stage I am at the current moment. And if you are feeling insecure in any way, I genuinely want to help you, but only if you want to be helped. I want to change society. I want to see, for all the conspiracy theorists, I want to see disclosure in terms of technology, because anything that has been released now existed 20 to 25 plus years beforehand. It has been proven. The internet was technically invented by the military. It's just too much to even get into right now, but I really hope I genuinely can help somebody in their plight or make a difference, because otherwise everything I've just said now at this point is in vain, and I'm sick of it. I've only got one lifetime. I have nothing else to say, whether you're an atheist or religious or not. I will just take on the worst case scenario. At one point, I will die and I will become irrelevant, and anything I say will not be passed on into the next generation, and anything I say will be stolen, or anything I do will be irrelevant. That is extremely frustrating. I really want to make a difference. I have family who are very educated. I myself, I guess you could consider myself to be educated or financially well aware. It doesn't make me superior, but what I'm trying to say is anybody that's seeing this should realize that you are just as relevant as anybody else. However, I don't want to go to extremes and assuming you're better than other people, because I have to deal with narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths. It's literally up to my eyeballs. It's like, it's not new to me. It's like, okay, so we can manipulate people. Oh, great, and yet narcissists apply. It doesn't help me and it does not help humanity. But I don't care who you are or what you do. But if you can make a difference and make the world a better place, I feel that would be the right thing to do and make me feel better. But not just me, but unconsciously millions of people, maybe even billions. It's just like we need a role model, and that role model was originally, I guess you could say, baby boomers, capitalism, because Gen X, I'm gonna put this crudely, is that they don't want to be seen as a role model. They just want to get their gratification and be seen as valid in comparison to baby boomers. And in a sense they are. They got what they wanted, and if they didn't, well, whatever, they can work upon it if they want to. But for millennials, it's just like we are a generation where we need to do something, and I'm tired of waiting for somebody to do something, and I have to be the pioneer, and point out the obvious or the not so obvious, just to get people to do something. It's extremely frustrating. I'm tired of feeling limited in terms of my influence, because if I'm limited in my influence, that means other people are also limited in their influence. There's not much we can do, to be honest, and it's utterly not fair. Why is the baby boomers, who were labeled as something called the profit generation, why were they so relevant? Why are we so irrelevant? I don't think this is at all fair. If you have helicopter parents, basically parents who let you live in their homes and don't expect anything of you, well, that's good, but are they improving your life? Are they creating any turning point of humanity? Because one thing I have learned is that people have made history, people who have changed humanity, people who go in a certain direction or become self-fulfilled, 100% are people who go against the grain, and sometimes that means leaving those that you believe to be important to you, which would be family, your loved ones. And I'm not suggesting you do anything physically to change that, but I'm just saying observe, learn to observe from the outside, learn to pretend you are looking from a foreign perspective on the inside, because that is the most important thing you could possibly do in your lifetime. It might feel strange, it might feel egoless, it might feel like you're not getting some kind of instant gratification, but it will pay in the long run. Trust me. Just you have to trust me on that one. Just, if not, again, what I'm saying is utterly in vain. And I hope what I've said today contributes something of relevance, because otherwise I've just wasted a lot of my time rambling. But rambling sometimes good too. So, let's keep the point. The point being is I want people to make a difference, and I want people to help me so I can help them. It sounds narcissistic, but I will help anybody who's willing to help me in the best way I possibly can, based off my way of thinking, which might not be the norm. But I'm trying every single day. I'm trying my best to understand others and help others. That's all I can do, essentially, to be of service. And the rest of the time, when I'm not doing so, I'm working on I guess you could say just the fulfillment everybody wants, but not instant gratification, just that feeling of spiritual enlightenment. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what I'll end it with on this note for now. Thank you for listening.